Hello everybody, it's Christmas.
Now you see, what you've done there
You've
made a fatal mistake.
Have I dated this podcast?
Well, that's the thing, because podcasts can come out whenever.
And you can listen to them whenever.
Yeah, I mean, somebody might be listening to this on a beach in Marbella.
Or yeah. Yes, yeah. Sorry. Happy Easter. Happy summer.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy christening, birthday, funeral. No, not happy funeral.
Happy funeral. That's in less than a minute. We've got to happy funeral. Okay.
So I guess maybe some of them are.
Right.
Anyway, let's moving on.
Okay. We shall move on swiftly. I feel we should after that.
Hello, everybody. You have tuned into Albumble,
Episode 12.
the podcast where we review the songs we didn't review the first time round. Albums.
Yes.
Well, this isn't really an album, is it? So
It's an EP.
It's an EP.
Yes,
I can't think of a word. The bundles of music that we didn't view the first time round.
The bundles of music.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Anne.
I'm not.
And yes.
And we're still doing this.
Yes.
Woo.
Woo. So we've got a very short. Well, we might not be short because we might have lots to say.
Well, it's a shorter recording. I was trying to work it out. I don't think it actually quite would have worked out as a single under the 90s chart rules.
Oh, right, okay.
So I think, it does just about come in as an album.
Okay. And that is who?
It is Yannis and the Yaw featuring Tony Allen with London, Paris, Lagos.
London, Lagos, Paris, Munich, everybody's talking about Afrobeat.
If you say so. This was mostly recorded in the early part of 2020.
Okay.
And was released this year.
So why the long wait then? That's the very...
I don't know why the long wait. I suspect it may have been because Yannis was busy doing Foals stuff.
Okay.
The intention may have originally been to revisit this project and add some more tracks to it.
Yeah.
But obviously that couldn't happen.
Yes.
Because so early in 2020, Yannis, who's the singer with Foals, the indie band, was invited over to see and play with Tony Allen in France.
Off of Fela Kuti, off of Jimmy Tenor, off of Sebastian Tellier.
Yeah.
Off of, I think he's done stuff. I want to say he's done stuff with Damon Albarn.
Oh, he's done loads of stuff with Damon Albarn. Yeah.
Yeah, and now this man.
Yes. This turned out to be one of the last things he recorded before he passed away from I believe from a heart attack in April 2020. So yeah, sad circumstances for this to come around, but apparently they hit it off, and a couple of tracks on here were sort of recorded almost as jamming sessions, as jam sessions. So yeah, this is sort of all that exists of this project.
Okay.
I think it's got a lovely. It's got a lovely little life cycle going through it, which obviously we can talk about when we go through it track by track.
Just the 5 songs.
Yes, just the 5 songs. I don't believe there's anything else that's been held back.
I'm sure they would have put it out.
I would have thought it would have all gone on this EP.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, it's. I'm trying not to preempt what I'm going to say later on here.
Yes,
which is quite tricky. I should possibly think about this a bit more of how I'm going to introduce something.
Well, we'll leave them hanging on. If you want to hear, you have to listen on
Yes, I've just realised why my brain's struggling a bit. Is because I was expecting you to ask me if there's any ongoing business from previous episodes.
No,
because you didn't do that bit, did you?
No,
and I do actually have some today.
Oh, okay. Which is what?
Pulp have signed to Rough Trade to record new music, apparently.
The original lineup, most of the original lineup?
Those who are still with us, I believe.
Yeah, well, yes.
They've...
yes. Yes.
Yeah, they haven't...
Happy funeral! Sorry, I just realised how that foreshadowed this episode. Yes.
I think shadow is becoming the right answer,
yes.
isn't it? The right word.
Oh, so that's good.
Yeah. Dan Lasac's recording some new computer game music. I saw on.
Oh, okay.
On the
that's where people make their money now, isn't it? Licensing stuff for.
Oh no, Dan specifically composes stuff for games now, as well as doing recording. I believe his main income is through doing game stuff. So, but yeah, he's very good at that sort of thing. I'm just looking through the list. I don't believe there's anybody else to add anything about, unless you know different.
Not really, to be honest. Can't think of anything. Okay. No. Right. Should we get on with recording our review?
Yes, let's have a look through the tracks. So the EP opens with track 1, which...
well, that's good.
As is traditional,
yes.
Which is Walk Through Fire.
Yes, so this starts off with a very distinctive guitar motif, yes, which goes through the majority of the song.
Yeah.
And then the drums come in, and then there's actually not very much to the layering of this song, really.
No.
Once you get past the drums and the guitars and the vocals, there is quite a bit of layering in the vocals.
Yeah.
At points, but there's not actually very much. It's very bare.
Yeah.
It's in lots of ways.
But for something that is quite sparse, it does build to quite a remarkable crescendo.
Yes.
Because it's one of those songs that keeps building as it goes along, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yes.
Even though it's still very much still the sum of its parts that were there right at the start. I love the lo-fi production that's done on the vocals.
Yeah, I did wonder... obviously, as the album went through, as the songs went through, it kind of came that this was, I don't know, the result of the recording or a decision that has been made to make it quite fuzzy.
I don't know as it's especially... I mean, you have to remember you are dealing with somebody here who primarily works as an indie act.
Yes.
And whilst Foals are not sort of a scratchy DIY band by any stretch of the imagination, I think there's still a wish to keep that recording sounding authentic and not to plaster it with loads of unnecessary production. It's not a pop record.
Yeah, it does keep that jam session type vibe.
Yeah.
The fact that it is quite, not mushy, but it's not clinky.
It hasn't been polished.
Yes, it's not polished. Obviously, with the drums and everything, there is a certain syncopation to the rhythm and to the lyrics, and the repetitive kind of nature, especially in the chorus.
Yeah, there is.
This kind of... I did wonder, and I'm not going to say what happens, I did wonder if this was going to be what the rest of the songs were going to sound like.
Okay.
Which I'm not going to say.
No, that's all right. I have something to say about that, which will come in probably at the end as well. But there's this way, it's almost cyclical, this song, that it runs through and it just keeps building on that pattern. It's sort of almost, I suppose, it sounds a little bit like somebody with a loop pedal would build something up if they were doing it on their own on stage.
Yes.
But obviously without the smug ginger-hairedness of it.
No. Just coming to that, one of my first thoughts, once I'd listened to this whole thing, one of my first thoughts was, do you remember a while back when a certain band got their instruments nicked and then they became the Doves?
Oh, right, yeah.
I felt like this was like everything had all their stuff stolen and
that's a bit unnecessary.
No, but I mean this felt like a very everything record.
Right, okay.
In that kind of loopy.
Now, I would say that Everything and Foals both had similar labels put on them when they first broke through. There was a genre for a little while called math pop.
Yes.
Which Foals definitely were lumbered with, and it was something I never quite understood because it seemed to be attributed to bands who were
clever,
sort of very tight and playing quite fast, punchy music.
Yes.
But I don't understand why that's math pop as a genre. But perhaps there was something else going on in there that I don't know. But there was my favourite Foals song was probably their first single that really broke through, which was Cassius, which is it reminded me a little bit of this. This first song sounded like something that I've been wanting Foals to record for some time. Yeah. I wanted it to sound a little bit raw and a little bit eager and a little bit frustrated and perhaps a bit of frustration and anger and those sorts of emotions going. And you get something like that and it builds and builds to a crescendo and then it stops.
Yes. Yeah.
It just
goes away.
Yeah. It comes to an end. It's reached its peak. We are not going to go further with this. Yeah. So yeah, that's the first track. Track 2, which I think the first 2 tracks make a lot of sense when listened to in tandem.
Yes.
Is Rain Can't Reach Us. And I can tell you a little bit about this.
Okay.
Apparently when they first started jamming and recording this, this was nicknamed the Tornado.
Oh, right, okay, yep.
And that's how this song was referred to before it was
put together.
Before
the song
had lyrics on. I don't know if the lyrics if there were lyrics recorded in the original
form
session in 2020, or I don't know if that's been done later on. But yeah, I love the sort of Amazonian sound that the intro loop has on it, because I think that lulls you into a false sense of security that this song's going somewhere different to where it actually goes.
Yes.
Because it gives you this sort of comforting, almost sort of bluff sound.
Yeah.
Before you start getting into the whirlwind that starts swirling this up.
Yeah.
Into a great big storm.
I wrote down that it's a much more ethereal opening.
Yeah.
And then it grows as the drums and the guitar. There's much more layering on this. It's a much more fuller sound. I've said that this is, to me, what Afro goth would sound like.
Oh, right, okay.
Kind of like if The Cure or, you know, that kind of, The Damned and that kind of people had done kind of, and I know they, some of those artists did dabble in kind of Middle Eastern type stuff. But I kind of think if they'd done something African, this probably is what it would have sounded like.
Now, this is possibly somewhere I should take a brief diversion.
Okay.
The drumming on this, and all of Tony Allen's drumming that I'm familiar with, I always think of as being jazz drumming rather than Afrobeat drumming.
Yeah.
Now, is that wrong? Should I be thinking of this as Afrobeat rather than of...
Well, I think like people like Fela Kuti and people like that, they were kind of what music they came up with was jazz.
Yeah.
Inspired, at least.
Yeah.
And then with technology, it's kind of become this more, dance infused.
It's gone off in its own direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is where you then get, I suppose if you're looking for a direct kind of thing, you'd go from something like what they were doing in the 60s and 70s, you'd then get to something like Technotronic.
Yeah, okay.
And that kind of black kind of dance music.
Yeah.
Too Unlimited was, they had a lot of like drummy, African-y type. It kind of comes from that. So I wouldn't be too I don't want to say bothered, but I wouldn't be too careful because they all do mush into each other.
Yeah.
And I think the work that Tony Allen did in particular stretched over so many people and genres and everything that to actually put him in a box wouldn't really be doing him any service.
No, because just that list you went through at the start of different people that we know and we like, who he's been involved with, is quite astonishing, really, because it's it generally tends to be people who have an avant-garde sensibility about them, who are willing to experiment and try new things and not just go for the route one.
Well, I guess I guess in his experience, what he was doing was what everyone was doing around him.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of African tone hadn't reached everywhere, so that he was then seen as being a bit different, a bit avant-garde, but actually what he could do could fit in so many different things.
Yeah.
It was kind of timeless, almost.
Yeah. So, track 3 is Night Green Heavy Love.
So,
which... Go on.
I found this went slightly R&B-esque.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a rock R&B type feel. And then went very staccato, which gave a very different feel to everything else. See, because everything else felt quite lyrical and had kind of rhythm, whilst this was very da 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 da.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I quite the empty. I've written the empty sound accentuates the parts that the different instruments are doing. Every instrument was having its own 8-beat party almost. Yeah. And because there was so little else going on, you could notice everything that every instrument was doing. So every time you listened to it, you've got something different out of it.
Yeah. After the first 2 tracks, it does come across as being quite minimal.
Yes.
And it's almost as if this song is trying to be a whisper. After... I mean, the first ones aren't even shouting.
No.
But the first ones are loud and with a certain
Yes.
level of bombast around them.
Yes.
And this is much more softly done. The very soft, sort of whispery vocals on this, and almost there's a tension in there as well.
Yeah.
Which I'll come back to later on. But the whole song to me felt cinematic. It's sort of an eager... I almost found it to be like... this was something where we could be watching a private eye.
Yeah.
Doing something clandestine and trying to keep it under wraps. And it evoked that kind of image.
There is a rigidity.
Yes.
Almost like there's something either not being allowed to break free.
Yeah.
Or doesn't want to be broken free.
Right, okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Kind of because everything is so rudimental, everything follows a similar path and everything's got a certain rhythm.
Yes.
That each bit is adhering to.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay.
By this time, we'd already kind of worked out that it's not just going to be 5 of the same song.
No, definitely not.
Anybody who was thinking that this was just going to be a Afrobeat record, or a African record, or is going to be not disappointed, but they're going to be led down a very different path.
But this, I mean, in the space of a fairly short EP,
yes,
this does explore a lot of ideas.
Yes.
Which is why it did leave me at the end feeling, I'm delighted this exists.
Yes.
This could have gone so many other places, but it's lovely we have this little glimpse into what it could have been. Track 4 is Under the Strikes. I really like the bold brass opening to this before we set sail off into this funk soundscape.
Yeah.
This to me sounds like Night Green Heavy Love has been freed from the structure you said about it. Feels like we've been freed from that and now it's being allowed to flow in a more I mean that word I use again, funk. It's a funky situation it finds itself in.
Obviously we've got the Afro brass section at the start. Again, that gives the whole EP a different side. Yeah. Because we've not really had anything with that kind of bombast in it quite yet.
No.
It's all been quite percussion-y and normal instruments almost. Although I quite liked the line, I cracked my ribs, but I found my spine.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of, you could give that and think what could, people could imagine what the story was.
Yeah.
Behind that. It's a very clever line.
I must admit that in this, I did read a couple of reviews when I was doing the research of the story behind this.
Yeah.
And one of the things that were mentioned in both of them, in fact, was about the lyrics of this. Now, I found myself getting lost in the soundscapes of these.
Yes.
And perhaps not paying enough attention to the lyrics of it, which I realise is something that, as I listen to it again, which I will do. That's the other thing as well. I do like something that's fairly short and punchy.
Yes.
You can listen to it for a little while. You know you're going to enjoy it. You know you're going to take something away from it. and it's something that's there, and that I think that will build up familiarity far better than a lot of albums do. Because there's a couple of albums I've listened to this year by probably younger bands, but I've felt like they, I don't know, I don't want to say outstayed their welcome. But after about 8 tracks, you're thinking, is there anything else you've got to offer us, or is this where we're going? Now, obviously, there are plenty of albums that go on much longer and are perfectly welcome to. But yeah, I do like how punchy this is because of the confined space it works in.
Yes, less is sometimes more.
Yes. On to track 5, which is the sumptuous Clementine.
Not Clementine.
Not a cover.
Oh my darling. Oh my darling.
Oh God.
No, this is a very different Clementine.
Yes.
So this feels like, this very much feels like the jazz part of the record. It's I said that it felt, I don't know whether it's because of the build up and everything of the rest of the songs, but this felt much more chilled.
Yeah.
And even though all the instruments were there, it felt very lulled.
Yeah.
And quite not basic, but they were there, but you know, it was subdued.
Yeah.
A bit.
I think the words that I found for it were, it feels a lot more calm and reflective.
Yes, yeah.
As if possibly it's looking back on something much bigger.
Yeah.
And it's the sort of song that could become an album. Could become an anthem.
Yeah.
But it's so gently done.
Yeah.
That it might get overlooked as such a thing.
Yeah.
But I love how gentle it is. And but it's persistent as well.
Yeah. I wrote on that theme, this feels like a very cool Eurovision record, but far too long.
Okay. It's not that long. It's 3:59.
Okay,
so it's a quarter.
It's a San Remo.
It's a quarter over
record, is what this is.
Yeah.
It does have that kind of anthemic, but you've got the same bit that he sings quite a lot.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like, oh God, he's singing that bit again.
No.
It never feels like...
It's almost a meditation,
yes,
isn't it?
Yes, so it's very calming.
Yeah.
But also quite welcoming.
Yes.
In a way. It's very like, you can listen to this.
It's blissful.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you don't like it or this is your normal stuff.
Yeah.
You can just listen and you can either hear the music or hear the lyrics or just chill out.
Yeah.
You know, it's the kind of thing that you could hear, you know, when you've been put on hold somewhere. but also be used, you know, in a meditative yoga studio.
Yeah.
Or something. It's, you know, just nice.
I'll take a slight tangent off there from something you said. I don't understand why on hold music is always such bad quality in how the sound is reproduced. Because you get someone talk to you on a phone now, and it doesn't sound that bad. You can hear their voice quite clearly.
Yeah.
Yet, as soon as they put you on hold, it's like... and it's horrible.
Yes.
You can...
You'd have thought they'd have wanted to make your time on hold as pleasurable as possible.
Yeah.
So that you don't just whack the phone down and go, bad service!
Why are you damaging my eardrums with this? No, I...
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Overall, I came... tracks 1 and 2 have had quite a lot of airplay.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously,
I guess.
mainly on Six Music, but
yes,
I suspect it has been other places as well. The last 3 songs, I think, have a, if not a story arc, a tonal arc to them. Because it does feel that's a gradual movement from a state of anxiety to contentment.
Yeah,
and it's that gradual move from one across the spectrum of emotions to the almost an opposite end in the space of 3 songs.
Yes.
Now that's a really impressive thing to achieve.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad I've had an opportunity to listen to this a couple of times properly.
Yeah.
Because I listened to it a couple of times the first time I bought it, and then I've got to be honest, it's been put away for a little while, and I hadn't come back to it. So yes, I'm quite pleased that we did.
Good.
Now, one thing I didn't mention at the start was why the album is called Lagos, Paris, London. And it's because those 3 places are the main places that Yannis and Tony Allen have worked as musicians. Which I thought was a really nice touch, because it says, rather than this just being something we're making, this is a collaboration of our backgrounds and our heritage.
Yes,
which I think is a really nice way to make a piece of music.
I guess as well, you've got the fact that although you can hear the indiness and you can hear the Africanness, it's not really placeable.
No.
You wouldn't be able to go, this is a record from blank.
No.
Or from this genre, or from this area. It's very much a...
This is a record of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
There we go.
So obviously, I'm quite fond of that.
Yes.
And I think that's a great little use of 21 minutes of your time.
Yes, it is.
Jolly good.
Right. Right. Now,
what's that you say? We're having a month off?
Well, I was thinking, because obviously you're going to be very busy.
It's fair to say that January and February I've got a lot on.
Right. So, what I thought is it might be... I've been making a stack of shorter albums stroke EPs.
Okay.
So that we've got a little bit of flexibility.
Right,
should we say. So I've also gone with an EP.
Okay.
But this one's a little bit older than yours.
Right. Well, obviously, this one was released this year,
yes.
so it was fairly fresh in the mind.
So we are going to go back to the heady days of 1996.
1990. Hold on, we've just been watching that on Top of the Pops.
Yes, I don't think they are.
Is it going to be a Robson and Jerome EP?
No. No. God, I have taste. So now this band, I don't think are around anymore.
Okay.
And they went through a spate of having some EPs.
Okay.
We are going to do the first one, which is called One EP. They then had another EP.
Can I guess?
Yes.
2
yes!
EP? Right.
It was. And then they had another one.
3 EP?
Yes.
Right,
yeah, you're
okay.
getting the... So we're going to listen to this one, mainly because it's the only one of theirs that's on Spotify.
Oh, right, okay.
There are others which I would like / prefer to listen to.
Yeah.
But there don't seem to be copies of them available online.
On streaming facilities.
So I would like you to listen to the One EP by Chester's own...
Hollyoaks?
Manson.
Oh, not far off.
Do you remember them?
Possibly. The problem was, as you're well aware, late 90s, I wasn't listening to much British music full stop.
No.
Let alone guitar-based indie rock.
No. There's only 4 songs on it.
Okay.
And one of them is very short.
Right.
And the others are about normal length.
Okay.
So not only should it be easy to find, it should be quite easy to listen to.
Yeah.
And
is this laying down a challenge for me?
What
So
do
obviously,
you mean?
I picked a 5-track EP. You've gone to a 4-track one.
No.
Next time, do I have to pick? I think it was 1991 or 1992's 3 Songs EP by The Wedding Present. No. One of which is their cover of "Come Up and See Me, Make Me Smile," which is just the most snarling, angry piece of music I've ever heard. It's tremendous. So anyway, I'll go and listen to some Manson.
And then we will be back on New Year's Day.
Really?
Yes.
Is that wise?
Yes. Well, we won't be recording it on New Year's Day.
Okay.
We'll be recording it.
Half cut on Christmas Day. It's a Christmas special. I've got a lovely podcast for you. I love you. You're my favourite. Your favourite listeners.
Yes.
It's one my favourite listeners are the ones who listen to me when they're drunk.
Yes, of course.
Oh, when I'm drunk. Or when they're... I don't mind, really.
Oh, right. We finished now.
Yeah, sorry.
Method. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can find us at albumble on Twitter. Or you can just say hello. Knock on the door.
Send us a postcard.
So, yeah, pigeon.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah. Write your name and address on the back of a fiver.
On a £1 note.
On the back of a... No.
Euros also accepted.
Definitely, yes.
So we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
By the time, because we will probably have recorded this before the ESC 250 as well.
Okay.
So we won't know who will have won.
Right.
But we will talk about it probably the next one after that.
Okay.
Right. Bye, everybody.
Cheerio.